Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of After the Finish Line. I've got 3 people with me this time. So a couple of weeks ago we had 2 and we've upgraded to 3 now. We're obviously a very, very popular show with our 50 views that we got on YouTube. We've got Lou, Jess and Kenny. 2 Jesses, but we go Lou, Jess and Kenny because that's what you probably know them as. So firstly, let's go round. How are you today, Lou?
I'm really good, thank you.
Good. How are you, Jess?
Really good, thanks.
Good. And Kenny, you're good?
I'm always good.
It's a Friday and it's sunny, so what more can we wish for? So the reason why we've got these 3 ladies on this week's episode is because obviously we had James Dunn on talking about how he went from 130 kilograms to running the MDS, and loads of other ultra marathons. And these 3 ladies actually ran an ultra marathon last week. It was Lou's first one. I believe it was your first one, was it, Jess?
Yep.
And Kenny, I think, had done 1 before, 2 before.
2 before. Oh, sorry.
2 before. 2 before. It's right. This isn't a family-friendly show. 2 before.
Thank God.
So you did an actual race one, and then you did a virtual one. Is that correct?
Yeah. I did.
Cool.
I did the Run to the Sea in Bournemouth last year, and then I did one on my own a few weeks ago.
He's a big fan of running to the sea, as it seems.
I just love it.
So we've got 3 ultra marathon queens here, otherwise known as the Ultra Dicks, and I thought, who better to dissect this week's episode? So we will go to Lou first for this question. So Rob spoke on the show what he thinks is nice about ultra marathons. He's never done one, but what he thinks is nice is it's a level playing field. So no matter if you're a quick person or someone who likes to poodle around, an ultra marathon is literally just about getting it done. There's no pressure on times with ultra marathon. On yours on Saturday, was when you were running it, was there at any point where you looked at your watch and thought, I've got to go a bit quicker? So saying a 10k or a half marathon, you're watch checking as such. In an ultra marathon, did you ever feel that came about, or did you literally just feel of getting it done? You're an ultra marathon, that's sort of the top accolade you can have as a runner.
No, so we went into the race and I had like a roundabout time in my head that we were going to finish in. And I know that Jess and Jess are both faster runners than me. So I said, as we set out, I reckon you 2 can get me a marathon PB during this today. And they both went, well, let's just see how it goes. You know, it's an ultra. And then we hit hills and heats. And I remember Jess saying to me at one point, we're probably not going to get you a marathon PB today. And I said, I don't even know how long we've been running, because we just laughed from the minute we set off to checkpoint 1, where we saw you and Neil, to checkpoint 2, we just laughed the whole way. So there wasn't a concern on time. There wasn't a concern on pace. It was just, we enjoyed it and we spent time together. We made TikToks and it was just about doing something you love with people that you love, that you've met for the first time that weekend, and just enjoying every second. So no, pace never came into it at all.
I think that's good. And like you said, before going into it, like when I did one last year, before going into it, I was like, I want this time. But the second you get out there, it is very much about 1, getting it done, and 2, enjoying it, because you don't want to have those last 10 miles as a struggle. And Jess, she mentioned, Lou just mentioned then about the checkpoints. Do you feel having the checkpoints on it really broke up the event, rather than it being 50k in one go? Was it every 10k-ish you had a checkpoint? Do you feel that helped break it up and not make it feel so much of a mammoth task? Because obviously on marathons, you don't really have checkpoints. You have little drink stations. But on an ultra marathon, you're stopping having a checkpoint. Do you think that helps you, Jess?
Yeah, it definitely did. I think I still do break up like marathons with aid stations, but in a different way, in that on the ultra, it's just very much like, as Lee said, we were just laughing most of the way, but just checkpoint to checkpoint. So instead of getting overwhelmed with the sort of mammoth 50k, I was just thinking, just get to the next checkpoint, see how you feel. And you definitely stop for longer, had much more snacks, filled up my water, forgot to put my sun cream on every time.
Oh no, did you get quite burnt then?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not what you want at all. No, especially when you got a bag on, it's rubbing. But no, you did very, very well, I must say. And over to you, Kenny. Friendship in ultra running events, that's what James said on the podcast. He said when he's done ultra marathons, he's bumped into people, got chatting to them. Obviously, you did it as a group of friends, but did you meet other people along the course who you started chatting along to? I know it wasn't a big event in COVID, you can't get chatting and stuff, but did you ever like see other runners and be like, oh, hey, how you doing? Or supporters along the course?
Yeah, we got recognised as the Ultra Dicks
Oh,
twice.
one.
We were just running along, and this woman just comes past us, this lovely lady, and she went, "Are you guys the Ultra Dicks?" Like, yes, we are. And then I think it was like towards the end, we were running along the sea, and these girls were walking past just in normal clothes, just casually, and one of them went, "They're the Ultra Dicks."
How did they know?
I've never felt so famous.
Because we're celebrities, Jack.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive. I like that.
I was like, I follow you guys on Instagram. I was like, yeah, you do.
So,
and then I met a couple of people at the end as well who I didn't really know, but they sort of came up and they were like, oh, we follow you. Like, you know, how did you find it and stuff? And that's just, I'm not in my normal life a very sociable person, so it's very weird, but it's just the nicest thing in the world.
and I think, like you said, people there recognizing you're doing an ultra marathon is a massive thing. I think it's something like only 1% of people have ever done a marathon, so I don't know what an ultra marathon is. I think it's an incredible
hero.
Yeah, you're basically a superhero just without the cape and the alter ego. Although you could be screw the Avengers, it's the Ultra Dicks instead now. But Lou, your thoughts? Obviously, it was your first ultra marathon. You've done a marathon as well. Was it virtually you did your marathon because obviously COVID?
Yeah, so I'd never run the marathon distance. So at the back end of last year, I was on a call with Jess and she said, oh, I'm doing an ultra. And it was, I think you had the conversation on the podcast the other day that ultras were going ahead and races weren't. So we all said to Jess, yeah, let's do it. So I signed up to the ultra not having run a marathon distance. So when the ultra got postponed from March to June, I decided to run the marathon. So I ran it on my own, which is a struggle on your own. I think that's why I went into this actually feeling like this was my marathon and my ultra in the same day, because I got like that joy from it. And I remember running down a hill. We were running down a hill and Jess got a camera out and was like, we've just hit the marathon point. We've just passed the marathon. And actually that felt like my first marathon. It felt like that first moment. And It was just doing it with friends. It was just brilliant.
I love that. And like you said, obviously the ultra marathon that you did was crazy hilly. Like I think you've ran up a couple of hills because it was near my area that I've ran up before and they're absolute stinkers. I tell you what, this is one for Rob and Matt. They constantly pick on me saying that it's not hilly down south, but it's hilly, isn't it? You can get the hills when you want and then you can go flat, but I can't commend you enough for doing that. Do you feel, no, this is a bit of a weird conversation, but do you feel, I'll go to you actually on this, Jess. Do you feel that the ultra marathon was a bit easier than the marathon, or maybe not physically because of all the hills, but mentally, do you find that this was a little bit easier?
I mean, it was easier because we were just having the best. Well, I don't know if these ladies did, but I had the best time chatting away, irritating everyone probably. So it's easier in that respect. I just think they're very different, marathon and ultras, in that you talked about this at the start. When you're running a marathon, I certainly feel like I put a lot more pressure on myself in terms of I need to get a certain time. You want to run constantly, whereas going in, well, my experience of the ultra was much more like I've really loved just enjoying running again and not stressing about whether I'm running quickly or slowly or whether I want to walk up a hill or take a break. And I feel like that's kind of easier. I don't know. Ask me after the Race to the Stones to see how I feel about.
I see where you're coming from though, because you are. Yeah, it's a bit easier. The pressure as such is a little bit off because you can just enjoy it more. So before I let you three ladies go and have the rest of your Friday back, I will ask you one thing. Are you going to do more ultras? That's the first question. And do you reckon you'll ever do 100-miler? We'll go to Kenny first.
Yes, definitely going to do more. I think I want to do 100-miler next year.
Next year? Oh.
I was thinking in a couple of years, but I'm like, I spend half my life just like browsing them like,
Yeah,
I think probably will.
Yeah, I'm very desperate. If I can find one next October, I think I might have to do it. But
Why not?
It's a long way, isn't it? What about you, Jess?
not.
Will you do another ultra? Well, you've got another ultra booked anyway. I don't know why I'm asking you this because all three of you have got another ultra booked. But will you do another 100 miler?
Well, I've done 100 miler.
Will you do 100 miler?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sounds a bit daunting right now, but I also know that I'm someone that said I'd only ever run. Well, I actually said I'd never run. Then I said I'd run one marathon. I've run 11. And I said I'd never, ever, ever, ever run an ultra, and I just have. And I think James said this on the podcast, just because something's hard, you shouldn't do it. Well, I actually think just because something's hard is a reason to do it. So probably is the answer to that.
Exactly. And if you do 100 miler, I think you should be able to wear your 100-mile medal for the rest of the time, if I'm honest with you.
Rest of time.
For wherever you go. And what about you, Lou? Will you ever do 100 miler, do you reckon?
Yes, that's my long-term goal. And do you know what? Again, James said on the podcast, and he put something in a post about don't worry if you suck at something. And like I think people came in the ultra we did at the weekend in 4 hours, and we were closer to 8 hours. But that didn't mean we sucked at it. It just we enjoyed it. But you don't have to be the best in an event. You don't have to be the quickest. And I think the most important thing is go out there and love it. So I will 100% do an 100-mile event one day. And it might take me 5 days, but I will do it.
You will do it, yeah.
And I hope on the day I do it, I have a Jess and a Kenny by my side, and hopefully a Marge mum and a positive lassie who couldn't run it with us. Do you know what? I hope every year for the rest of my life I get to run a race with the Ultra Dicks and any other Instagram people that want to join us on that journey, because we all met through this platform, and that's what the most incredible thing is. We all just met through this, and we turned up at Brighton not knowing each other, and they're just incredible. So yes.
Yeah, and I think Rob mentioned on the podcast the social media like boomed up on the. If people didn't know that you weren't doing an ultra marathon, I think they would have come the end of the day. The amount of posts there was from you three, so many other people sharing things. I thought it was lovely, and this is a thing I love about the social media. I think James said it on the podcast as well. Social media can be so beneficial, and like this, everyone cheering you on. I know when I've done races before, you sort of like think in the back of your head, or you look up at your phone halfway through and you'll be like, oh, people are cheering me on. So I think that was nice for you guys to have as well. But I'll let you all go. I'll let you enjoy your Fridays. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll have one little ching before we go, because we've all got alcoholic drinks other than Kenny, because she's an athlete. And we go over, before I forget, we'll go over to the quickfire questions, which Rob has done with James. Thank you, ladies. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Jack. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode, as always, of After the Finish Line. And more importantly, I hope you're enjoying this week's episode of the podcast that went out on Thursday. If you've not listened to it, why haven't you listened to it? You need to get over to Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever it is you get your podcast, you need to have a listen, because you will hear my chat with the awesome James Dunn, Mr. Morning Coffee Run. And I've got him back for some exclusive content. James, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Good. Are you ready for some quick-fire questions?
I'm feeling more nervous than I probably should do.
But yeah, there's no wrong answers, but don't give me any wrong answers. Right, okay, so let's get straight into it. First one, my friend. What is your favourite all-time race?
Snowdonia Marathon, hands down.
Yeah.
Just Google it and you'll see why.
Yeah, I think I can imagine. Okay, are you a park runner?
I've not done as much as I should do.
Okay, but if you've done a few so far, favourite park run?
So, local one to me, Chipping Norton. Can't beat a local one.
Flat, hilly?
Flat, but there's like a good hilly little bit loop, which I love that.
Just to get you. Yeah. Good, Chipping Norton. Okay, what is your go-to pre-race meal? What do you use what's your carb load meal?
So, morning of, porridge, strawberry jam. Can't beat it.
Yeah, pretty good. Okay, what's the one piece of running kit that you cannot live without?
The world's ugliest socks, Injinji toe socks.
Very good. Okay, are you a morning runner or an evening runner?
Even though I'm called the morning coffee run, I'm an evening runner. Really? Just need to get yourself together before you can get out there. Yeah.
Good man. Okay, how about this then? Scorching heat or the pouring down rain?
Oh, definitely the heat. Can't stand the rain.
Warm weather runner. Good man. Okay, so you're at the start line of a race. You're trying to get the adrenaline going. You're wanting a PB. What's that one song that's going to pump you up? What's going to get the adrenaline going?
So it's the same song I've listened to at the start of every single race. It's a guy called Jack Garrett, and it's a song called Surprise Yourself. It's not going to pump you up, but it'll definitely motivate you.
All right, okay. I've never heard of it, so that's one for you. Let's go and check out on Spotify. And last but not least, perhaps most importantly, sir, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to a new or aspiring runner?
Just start.
Yeah. No more than that. No more needed than that. I absolutely love it. James, thank you so much. As I said at the start, guys, if you haven't checked out this guy's episode, you need to get over, you need to download it, and you need to listen to it because it's amazing. Check him out at themorningcoffeerun.com. But for now, Jack, it's back to you, bud.
And there you have it, everyone. There's another episode of After the Finish Line wrapped up with a bow put on it. Thank you so much for Lou and Jess for coming along. And thank you, James, for staying back to do some quick-fire questions with Rob. It turns out he likes pasta before a race. Not pasta, porridge. Pasta was on my mind. He likes porridge before a race, so he's not on the pizza boat or the pasta boat. Next week, we've got Ben Stittle on, Sheffield Strider, over on Instagram. I know so many people loved him, and I will be really looking forward to listening to that podcast and dissecting it on the final episode of After the Finish Line next week. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, click that notification bell, and if you want to follow any of the ladies on Instagram, Kenny's was at Kenny, Lou is at Lucy Gets Fit, and Jess, I think, is at Jess Keeps Running. And that is all for this week. I will let you go and have the rest of your Saturday. Thank you, everyone. Bye.